That's it. You're done. Over. Enough.
I should take that button away. Shouldn't
Why? You think Mario's going to get tempted?
I don't know, maybe.
So let's toast. What are we toasting to? First of all,
To a rough day?
to
2 rough days.
better days. To the blessings that Hashem can put you in a position to help people in their rough days.
Amen.
L'chaim, everyone should experience major yeshuot, major miracles and salvations and blessings from Hashem in a revealed way. L'chaim. Okay. How was that? So we are continuing. We're almost up to 6b in Megillah. We're on the bottom page of 6a in the Steinsaltz current edition that we are learning from. We are in the page 225, third paragraph of Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak taught. Yes? If you recall a little bit what we were discussing earlier, we were locating different demographic cities in Israel, more obscure cities, and then we went into this idea about how to appreciate the wicked, or where Yitzchak asked Hashem that Esav should be treated just as well as Yaakov, remember, but then God said he's never going to learn, he's never going to become righteous, and then Yaakov understood. So a bit along that theme about the wicked or the righteous, Rabbi Yitzchak has a very interesting teaching to tell us which some commentaries today, more nowadays, and you'll soon see why in the last 50 years or so, have pointed out that there's an actual huge prophecy. You want to see a prophecy that was recorded in the Talmud 2,000 years ago, originating from a pasuk from Tehillim that Yaakov said? You ready for us? Ready. Huh? Ready. This is like we have to make a l'chaim about this one. This is going to see l'chaim for the prophecies. L'chaim. This prophecy, unfortunately, didn't turn out so nicely, but we should have prophecies that turn out much better. My dichsiv, what is the meaning of the pasuk in Tehillim, where David HaMelech says, Yochan Rashab, sorry, where am I? My dichsiv, it says, Al titein Hashem, me'avayei Rasha, Hashem, please do not grant the desires of the wicked, Zmamo al tafek, and further not his evil decree or evil device, Yerum Osela, so that they shall not be able to exalt themselves. Somehow, don't feed into their desires and don't allow them to exercise their strength. What is this? Who is this wicked and what is their strength? And what are we praying for that God should not give them the ability to exercise their strength? So the Gemara explains, Rabbi Yitzchak explains, Omar Yaakov Lefnei Kadosh Baruch Hu, that Yaakov said to God, Ribono Shalalam, Master of the universe, Al titein le'esav harasha tavas liboy, don't allow Esav, the wicked, to fulfill his desires. What is Esav's desire? To destroy Yaakov, to destroy Yaakov's descendants, to destroy the Jewish people. Zmamo al tafek, do not allow them to further and to achieve their decree or their evil plans. What does that refer to? Zu Germamia shel Edom. This is Germamia of Edom. Shilmalei hein yotzin machirivin kolel and kulei.
Where are you reading? Is this?
Yeah, everyone got me?
Is it in the main text?
I am.
We just turned the page.
No, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
The Amud, yeah. Amud B.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right.
This is Germamia of Edom, that if they would get their will, they would go forth and destroy the whole world. Who's they? Who's Germamia shel Edom?
Is this Germany?
So, some people say it's a mistake of Germamia, but rather the mem is supposed to be a nun, and it's Germania. Germania of Edom, which would possibly be Germany.
Was there such a name then?
There was. Now, do some research into world history, there was not necessarily a country of Germany, but there were Germanic tribes.
Yeah.
This is going back, huh?
I saw a lot of movies.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And there were major battles.
Yeah.
They really were. And they were not a force necessarily. I mean, they were a little bit of a force. They were tribes. And this is, if you go back to the century before the Common Era, the turn of the Common Era, later, this is during the Roman Empire, where the Roman Empire was huge. It really was from the North Sea all the way to Africa, to the Sahara Desert, from all the way from the left there to all the way to Asia, right, Spain. So it dominated the entire continent almost, except for right there in the northeast of the region there, which is Germany area. Rome never really managed to conquer.
Because of these tribes?
So it was like the last piece of their conquer. And I actually did some watching of some YouTube history today to try to brush up on this. And who was the Augustus was the emperor at the time, and there were all kinds of things going on that they didn't have the resources or the attention to really get. Eventually, they did try to. And there was a series over 50 years or so. There was a series of Augustus and then Tiberius. We spoke about it a few years ago. He took over. He was a general. They tried many times to invade, and oftentimes these tribes. I forgot the names of these tribes. Huh? That's who it was, because I saw other names of tribes, but it could be. They successfully fought back a lot of the time, and really, the Roman Empire never really managed to conquer Germania. For periods of time, yes, quasi, and then they lost it. It was not their stronghold. All right, now let's explore this a little further. The Gemara comments further. Amar Rabbi Chama bar Chanina, Rabbi Chama taught, Tlas mea katiri taga ika bergermania shel Edom. There are 300 kings or princes with crowns on their head in the state of Germania of Edom. Utlas mea v'shisin v'chamisha merzavne ika beremi. And there are 365 chiefs, generals in Rome. Apparently one for each day. Every day another chief. Is it a chief? Is it a god? It's referring to all different kinds of leaders of Rome. So you have the 300 princes of Germany and the 365 of Rome. Each day they're really contending and they're really battling against each other. And then someone is getting killed. And then they're preoccupied appointing someone to fill that person's place. Because Germania is preoccupied in that battlefront against Rome, every day there's a kind of thing going on and somebody's being killed and they have to replace that person. And because they're so bogged down by that, they don't have the ability to do what they're really able to do, and that is to be a strong force and to destroy the world. Were they? Because Germania has which belongs to Edom. Now, Edom normally we consider Rome, by the way. And Rome would be the Roman Empire, but Germania never really became part of the Roman Empire. But it's also kind of descendants of Esau. They want to destroy the world. They want to destroy the Jews, like Esau wanted to destroy Yaakov. If they would have their way, if they'd have the ability, the time, they would do that. But it's a kind of blessing that they have this constant ongoing battle between them and Rome. So they're so tied down and bogged down by that they don't have the ability to regroup their efforts and to actually destroy the world. Okay? Which tells us, perhaps, that if there would come a time that Germany and Rome and Italy would unite forces, they'd be able to destroy the world. And one of the biggest alliances in the Holocaust, in World War II, was Germany and Mussolini of Italy.
And Japan had nothing to do with these Torah-wise with that.
Wasn't on the radar here. It's not mentioned over here. Right? It's a little eerie. It's like here in the text.
Germania sounds exactly like that.
Germania.
Yeah.
So there are commentaries that write that it's a mistake. It should be actually say Germania. Interesting, huh?
But tell me if I'm wrong. Yaakov didn't say that he's predicting this.
No, so Yaakov said,
God for not to
Yaakov says, let me find the words. He says, Zmamo al tafek. Do not allow them to advance their plan.
Okay, so he's not predicting that.
Right. So Rabbi Chama is explaining that what is their plan? The plan is to destroy. They're being unable to destroy because God is preventing them from destroying by keeping them preoccupied with these scuffles against the Romans all the time. Some commentators explain that the word zmamo comes from, it could be their plan, evil plan. It could also be nose ring. You have it in the Torah. Nezem, zahav, nose ring. Just like by a bull or an animal where you don't have a lot of control over, they're very strong. But the only thing you have is the ring in their noses that you can grab onto and grab a rope, and that's your control. But if you lose that, then they're free to do whatever they do. So that's what Yaakov is saying. This nose ring, with this kind of control, this muzzle that we have on Germania, doesn't allow them to do and be what they want to be, and keep that nose ring on them, keep that level of, otherwise they'll explode and destroy everything, which they did. Another very important teaching, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, he taught as follows: Im Yom Alecha Adam. Imagine somebody comes and tells you, Yogati, I worked very, very hard. Velo matzati, but I did not succeed. Al ta'amen. Don't believe them. Lo yagati, I didn't work very hard. Umatzati, but I succeeded. Al ta'amen. Don't believe them. Yogati, I worked very hard. Umatzati, and I succeeded. Ta'amen. Believe them.
I've read this somewhere.
This is very famous.
So can you it's from here? It's from the Megillah? Why shouldn't
Here it is.
Or something.
This is not in Pirkei Avot.
Why shouldn't
No.
you be living?
Hmm?
I understand that
Okay, let's talk about this.
you want to be the third guy, right? But there's some people that are the second guy. Or the
All right.
first guy.
Okay. All right. Well, so in other words, what does this really mean? How true is it? And by the way, who really popularized this? Sorry. Who really so one of the people that popularized this Gemara is the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I don't know if you know, maybe you know, that the Rebbe, in one of his campaigns to strengthen chinuch, Jewish education of children, he came up with this concept called the 12 psukim. You ever heard of that? He collected 12, what he called 12 psukim, 12 verses, but they're not all psukim. Some of them were verses from the Torah. Some of them are passages from Mishnah or Talmud, and some of them are passages from other holy books, other Hasidic works. And it was this idea that all children should be able to memorize these 12 passages. And at all celebrations, all events, all parties, every child should be able to recite these 12 verses. Maybe if you've seen some of the kids' rallies, you call up a child to say the Passcode of Torah. Torah! Everyone responds, Torah. Tziva, that was the first one. Shema Yisrael was the second one. B'chol Dovador. Called Israel, there was 12 of these. And if we're not going to do this now, but if you go through the 12 psukim, you see how each one of them has really important foundational teachings and values of Yiddishkeit, of Judaism. So the ninth one is this passage. The Rebbe said this has to be understood and appreciated by even a child. Huh? This is number 9, yeah. So if someone says, I worked hard, but I did not succeed, don't believe them. Because what do you know about success? Maybe you don't understand what success means. You thought that success needs to look like this. For example, I worked very hard to pass a test, pass the bar. And I really worked.
Is starting for the bar.
Okay. So is he working hard?
He's locked up in the room all the time. Michelle's son.
Okay. So you work really, really hard. Yeah. And then you fail. But did you fail? The bar test you failed, but did you fail? Right. There's a lot more than just the bar test in life. There's always going to be a success that comes out of hard work. There's this teaching. Chazaka leta'amula she'eno chazer rekam. There's this chazaka, there's this affirmation, there's this guarantee that hard work will always bring to a productive outcome and a success. It is a guarantee. It may not be the outcome you wanted, but the hard work never goes unpaid.
I'm sorry, but if you work really hard for the bar and you fail the test, I don't see how that's a positive outcome. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be a believer here, but I don't see. You might learn
One of the ways
better for the next time, and it may make you a better lawyer later on.
Maybe one of the ways is to go to somebody who in their past failed and then either passed the next time or moved careers. But ask somebody now who has 20 years ago failed the bar, how did it play out in your life? And they may tell you, wow, that was the biggest blessing because of that, I discovered this, or I worked even harder. Right? You never know.
Okay.
But success does not come in a linear kind of way, straight line. Success is like this, right? And only when you look back and you see that whole path that got you there, but you don't want to ever get there this way. You want to just get there straight. That's what we all want. But it never goes that way. So for sure, your gaiti v'loy matzasi al tamin, don't believe them, because you have to basically tell somebody there's a mitzvah, there's a success going on that you have to try to learn to appreciate. And it's if you worked hard, that is the hard work is the success already. Hard work is very important for a human being, for a yid. A person is born to work. The Passcode says, Adam le'amal yula, the person is born to work. We live in a country that everyone's trying to figure out how to work less.
Absolutely.
Right? Now,
The new generation.
right. Now, the work that maybe they're trying to work less is, I get it, maybe the work ethic or the work standard is not the work. But in the Torah lens, work, toil, it may not mean standing at a cash register and working 18-hour days. That's not what work necessarily means. Work means exerting yourself. Work means investing effort, mental effort, emotional effort, sometimes physical effort, putting yourself out there, maximizing your potential, exercising your abilities. That's work. And when you really want to exercise your ability and maximize your potential, you've got to put yourself into it. It is strenuous. Where the word yogata for work is an interesting word. It's a very severe word. It's a very strong word. Meaning there's other words for work, but yagia doesn't just mean regular work. Yagia means strenuous work. So the Torah says for sure, strenuous work is the way of life. We're born to do strenuous work. Doesn't mean you have to be standing in a rice field and for 18 hours a day, or getting underpaid. It means you have to work hard with mind, heart, and body to maximize your abilities and your potentials, whatever you're capable of doing. You have to work hard.
Laziness is a terrible decision.
Huh?
Laziness is a terrible decision.
Laziness, sure. And the Gemara says laziness breeds all kinds of not good things. Basically, the end result is immorality. That's what the Gemara says. Right? All of narishkeit, all of immorality, all of these huge distractions to the purposeful moral life, they all come when there's an emptiness in your life. I'm busy, there's an emptiness going on, and you're just filling it up with garbage. Look for children also, such a big thing. To keep children busy, right? Teenagers. If you keep them busy, get them in a program, get them doing something, they won't fall trap to a lot of the crazy stuff going on nowadays.
In front of the TV, playing video games, that's not busy.
It might be, in other words, if it's something appropriate.
Yeah, no.
No, within moderation. For an hour a day, you can be in front of a screen. And then, what book are you reading? Or let's take you to this. Let's sign you up to this program, or work on a project, or develop a skill, or learn an instrument. Keep them busy. The biggest important thing for teens, especially, keep them busy. In the public school system, what time do they finish school? 2:00 or something? What time does school finish? 3:00? Later. Okay, so they have 4:00 till 10:00 at night. What are they doing for those 6 hours? Because if they're not busy, they're going to get up to all things you don't want them to get up to.
Yeah, me too.
If you look at a yeshiva system where you have to show up 7 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. and your night seder finishes 9:30 p.m. Yeshiva schedule is 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. It's like, we did this for 7-8 years, right? I think at the time I didn't even notice how crazy it was. Meaning it was just life. We did that. But looking back, yeah, it's pretty intense to do for so many years at 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. schedule. And by the 9:30 you ended up hanging around. You made another chavra, so you learned further. So you were in the base medrash till 10:30, 11 o'clock. We were spending like 18 hours a day in the base medrash.
From what age to what age?
Some kids, it depends. Some kids are starting already 15, 16 years old, that kind of
It's the
schedule.
only way to get a teenager not to start thinking about garbage.
But could you imagine how it protects, and not protecting as in we're just trying to keep you hidden away from the world. No, it fosters, it conditions you a certain way. You don't even have the ability or the time or the openness or the freedom to get distracted with silly things, inappropriate things, dangerous things. Someone once said, I'm not saying this is maybe there's some truth to it. So the Rebbe made a lot of customs and decrees about learning. He wanted everyone to learn chitas every day, to learn the daily chumash and the daily Tehillim, the daily Tanya, everywhere. And then the daily Rambam, right? Some people do 3 chapters a day or 1 chapter a day. There's a lot of, and then some people do the Daf Yomi. That didn't come from the Rebbe, but so sometimes you could say, wow, so much. On the other hand, maybe that was the goal of the tzaddikim. The tzaddikim, their goal was just they wanted to keep us busy, because you're gonna have that hour in your day always. It's either gonna be spent flipping through reels on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, or it's gonna be spent doing the Rambam of the day, right? Which one is gonna keep you a little better focused? So anyhow, busyness is. No, I'm not advocating business with silly things or with wasteful things, right? So business with purposeful things, or business with what you're capable of. You have to discover a person's talent, a person's abilities, where they have potential. Hone those skills. How many people go through lives with potential of skills that were never developed? Right? I recently heard from somebody, and he's in his 40s or nearly 50s, and he discovered that he is artistic. He has a skill for drawing. He's 40, in his mid-40s, he never drew before.
All of a sudden he realized he could draw.
And he was going through some challenges in life, and he was looking for some kind of outlets or some ways to entertain himself, whatever. And he just tried this out, and he thought somebody commented it, and then he signed up a class for it and a course, and now he's painting nice pieces.
A friend of mine in Peru did that. He sold art in Art Basel.
Oh, really?
And
he started what? And he started late.
How old?
Late
How old
40s.
He's 1 year younger than me.
Yeah. And I know him since childhood. We've been friends forever. And he called me, hey, listen, I want to invite you to this thing in.
Amazing.
Go there and see his paintings.
Amazing.
And did he
What does he get for a
always have
painting?
Artistic brain?
No.
What does he get for a painting? What?
I didn't ask.
I want to tell you something about it. Have you ever heard of a Jewish painter, a Hasidic painter? Is Zalman Kleinman. You should look him up. He passed away in the 1990s. He was a Lubavitcher Hasid. He was very artistic. He's made a lot of paintings. You've for sure seen those paintings around. They're scenes of the Hasidic shtetl in synagogues on the streets. You've for sure seen a lot of these paintings. Some of them are really, really beautiful. And there are a bunch of his originals out there, right? People have these originals, and there's a lot of copies, of course. And so his originals are always considered to be, they go for a lot of money whenever they occasionally get sold. And I think one of the highest numbers a number of years ago that he got, he's already not alive anymore, but an original got sold for was like about $100,000. It's a lot of money. Well, just this week, one of his most famous pieces just sold for $480,000.
Inflation and everything.
Right. You should look up his paintings. So,
What's his name? Kleinman?
Zalman Kleinman.
Zal.
Yeah. I'll. You see, I'm introducing you to all the Jewish artists.
First, you introduced me to.
How's that going? A.B. Rottenberg.
Abby Rottenberg.
I
A.B.
listened to him in the car that day.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's like a story.
I love stories.
I've
Yeah.
already heard 3 of his albums. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I cried in one of the songs.
I actually do a little bit of a tear too.
There's some of them
When
you
you're
can.
driving in the
some of
car, when you drive in the car, that 60.
The Shadchan.
Yeah.
But the Shadchan said,
Oh,
this time will be different.
you're gonna make me cry again.
Oh man.
How about a time?
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's clear.
All right.
You have to be busy.
And I want to add one more story to that. So that once the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, wanted to give a blessing to his grandson, whose name was Menachem Mendel, ended up becoming the third Chabad Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, because the Tzemach Tzedek's father passed away, so he was raised by his grandfather. He was young. And it was his birthday. He wanted to give him a blessing. What blessing did he want to give him? He said, I want to give you a blessing that you should have Hatzlacha, you should have success in your learning. Which basically meant, sort of this blessing should come from heaven. God should grant you success in your learning. And he responded, I don't want that blessing. Because the way I've been taught is that success of learning doesn't come through magical blessings from heaven. It only comes from hard work. I don't want to have the temptation of falling back on blessings from heaven where I know that I have to actually put in the hard work to succeed in my
How
learning.
old was he when he
I think it was like around a bar mitzvah age.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's huge.
Now, later in life, he said that he regretted the response. Why? He said, because the Torah is infinite. Right? How much can you master the Torah? Get deeper and deeper. There's no end. If he would have accepted the bracha from his grandfather and been given siyata d'shmaya, help from above, with a certain level of success in learning, he could have built upon that with hard work to gain even more. It wouldn't be excusing him from hard work, just he would use his hard work to take him to the next level that the blessing didn't get him to, versus now he didn't have that blessing, so he was starting from scratch to get somewhere with his hard work.
Nothing wrong with using your connection if you put in the work.
And that's an interesting challenge nowadays. When our young generation is growing up now and their parents have very successful businesses or connections in schools and they're getting the kids into the highest colleges and the highest opportunities, job opportunities into their business, is that good or bad? So it depends. If it fosters entitlement and laziness of the child, well, then it's no good. And rather say, go get there on your own, go on your own merits. Or if a child can be mature enough and be trained this way to say, I was very blessed by the connections, by the prominence, by the wealth of my parents to get to high places in life, which I didn't necessarily earn. But now that I'm there, let me use my own talents or achievements and hard work to get further. Now, how many actually do that or say that? Some, yeah. Those that say, yeah, it works out really nicely, but some not. That's the challenge. So the next passage says, if someone says, I did not work hard and I succeeded, also al-tamin. If you succeeded, but you didn't work hard, then that success is not the real success you were capable of. Because if you would have worked hard, you would have succeeded much more. So it looks like a success. Here's the opposite. It looks like a success. I passed the bar and I didn't have to study much.
I'm a naturally smart guy.
Yeah.
I did enough.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
testing.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm a good guesser.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a success on that level, but we're talking about the success that you're capable of. Well, if you would have worked hard, you would have achieved a lot more. So you fell short of what you're truly capable of.
But it says, don't believe it. Why would it say don't?
Because it's not true. It's not really true.
So saying don't believe him is the same as saying it's not true?
It's not entirely true. Yeah.
But he's not lying. He just thinks that.
He's making a mistake, not realizing what real success could look like for him. At the end of the day, Hashem wants us to achieve our best in life. We're not required at all ever to compete with anybody else. It doesn't matter if somebody else succeeded more or less, whatever even success more or less means. It's irrelevant. We have to succeed to our best ability. So you could accomplish huge things in life, but if you're going to come up to heaven and Hashem's going to say, but did you do your best? And you say, I don't know, I didn't, then no, if you didn't succeed. Versus if you have minimal achievement, but did you do your best? Yes. Right? It's such an important educational concept also. Because today in our schools, we just grade everybody the same way. We give one test for everybody, and the guy that gets 100 is good students, and 90 is decent, and 80 is okay, and the 70 are good.
That's the only way we're able to
Standardize.
To what?
standardize.
Why do we have to standardize anything? What kind of world do you live in?
In the
Where did this come from?
reality.
Who created this concept?
Oh, it's the reality.
Which reality? Whose reality? What are we here to achieve? We're here to create this mold that the strongest student doesn't have to work very hard, and the weakest student can't even get to where they need to get.
Why are there different yeshivas at different levels?
The whole
Okay?
system is no good. I'm not an advocate of any educational system. They're all no good.
But it's the only system we have.
You sit with your malamed, you sit with your tutor, you sit with somebody who loves you and cares about you, sit with them for 10 years, and they'll make the best of you. That's how it worked once upon a time. Anyhow, a message to our kids is I don't care what score you get. I care if you tried your hardest. And if you got a 75, but I saw you working hard, you did well. And if you got 100 and you didn't work hard, not impressed.
I'm sorry, I'll take the 100.
It's an important message.
My son told me that he went to University of Florida. He said, "Dad, I studied enough to get a B. I didn't study those 30, 40 hours, for the test. I studied I knew enough to get a B. And so I graduated with a B. And he knew. Does that mean that, he whatever?
Right. Yep. That's how it goes, Imagine doctors that say those things. Not the doctor over here, but imagine a doctor goes to medical school. I'm just studying enough to graduate. And you're gonna walk into this guy's office one day. He's gonna treat you, and the guy treating you is the guy that studied enough to graduate.
But then he's got a lot of other tests, and he's got a lot of practice.
He's just gonna do what needs to get done to get into the system. I'm sorry to say this, Johnny, but there's many doctors like that, and I'm you know why I'm comfortable to say that? There's many rabbis like that also. There's many in every profession. There's people who just want to get away with.
Some people in my class of a very good school, I wouldn't let them touch my toenail, But I tell you a story, like talking about that, right? There was a Professor Luke. He was a physics professor in my university. He was also a teacher in our high school. Super tough guy, really tough guy. Physics. It was my second year of med school is 8 years. So you do like college here, but all together. And he was quantum physics and stuff like I would never see in my life, like really ridiculous stuff, So I actually was friendly with him because of high school. Everybody was afraid, nobody would talk to him. But I knew him for a long time. So I went, hey, Professor, let me ask you a question. I want to be a doctor. Quantum physics? Me? So he looked at me and says, Johnny, you can't do that. You should not be a doctor. And he failed 30% of the class. And you're out for a whole year. He was.
And that was the middle of med school.
Second year of the 8 years. 30% of treatment.
I love his response, by the way. I love it.
This is that same idea, right? I mean, you know why you can't do that? You shouldn't.
Love it.
I was like, okay. I didn't agree with you.
But now you appreciate it.
I do.
So many benefits to that. First of all, the knowledge definitely sharpens you and right? It's like learning esoteric Talmud. A lot of times learning things that are no relevance, but if it's just sharpening your wisdom and your ability to understand, to analyze. I mean, there's so many skills you pick up just through the hard work of learning. And yeah.
People like this that we're doing is the analysis of little things that you may never use, actually. You may never think about 14, they're 15, they're 13, right? But it's the analysis, how they get there, it's the thinking.
The activity of the study and of the questioning and of the trying to understand. That is the gift of Talmud. That's what puts anyone that spent time in yeshiva many years and succeeded, worked hard. Not every Bacher student worked hard in yeshiva. I'm sorry to say this on camera live. But those that did, when they go out there into the world, even if they didn't go into the highest of schools, and they will succeed excellently. They just have the mental activity and bandwidth. Okay, and I'll share with you one last little story this is a loose interpretation of this is a complete different interpretation of the Talmud, but it's a play on words. So they say there was once a tzaddik. His name was Rabbi Yitzchak of Varki. Yitzchak of Varki was a Hasidic Rebbe. I believe he was a student of Pshischa, Rebbeinu of Pshisch, and later that there was the Varki Chassidim, and that led to maybe Alexander Chassidim today. He was a big tzaddik. A lot of stories about him. When he was a young child and growing up and a boy and a teenager, he was like, people looked at him, he was a wild guy, a wild character, seemed to waste his time a lot, seemed to just run around town and make noise and get up to mischief. Didn't seem to be the diligent, prized student. But what was not known about him was that secretly, he actually was. When nobody was watching, late at night, he was very diligent and immersed in his studies, but he had this idea that he didn't want anybody to know about him. So the perception about him was that he was okay. So then when maybe his father was a tzaddik or a rebbe before him, and then he passed away, and then there was a movement to appoint him, the child, as the rebbe. But there were others who remembered him from his youth, and they said, we know this guy, troublemaker. He wasn't anything so impressive. So we're wary that he should become the rebbe, the next tzaddik for us. So they quoted this Talmud. They said, look at him. Look at a big tzaddik he is nowadays. Yeah, but we don't know how he got there, and if he really got there, if he put the work in. So they said, the Gemara says, Lo yogati o matzasi al tami. Literally means if someone says, I did not work hard, but I did succeed, don't believe them, meaning that's not called success. But here it was interpreted the opposite way. If someone says, I didn't work hard and I did succeed, don't believe him, meaning he must have worked hard. Don't believe him about saying he didn't work hard. Because we see Matzati, we see he succeeded. So don't believe that, right? So it looks like to you he wasn't working hard as a student, as a Bachur, but he wasn't. You don't even know what he was really doing with his time when nobody was watching. So it's another way to read the words.
How many people actually hide who would be like him and hide how hard
it used to be?
Right?
It is, and it used to be much more common. If you go to the times of the Baal Shem Tov, for example, the Baal Shem Tov until he was 36, nobody even knew anything great about him. He didn't want anyone to know. It wasn't just him. There was a whole, what we call Chavraya Kadisha. There was a whole holy society of hidden tzaddikim, for example. Yeah, and there were people who made every effort that nobody should know anything great about them. In the public eye, they should appear to be. Everyone should have considered them to be just simple folk, and they wanted that chas v'shalom, and no one should ever find out that they're wise, scholarly, Talmid Chacham, holy. No one ever wanted that. It was a value that people tried to attain.
If you have all this wisdom, why would you want to go into wherever and give your wisdom over?
Good question. That is a good question. Like, is it a good value? Right? Because if you have it, you have to share it and give it, right? It's a good question. We have to deal with that. I'm not sure the answer to that question right now. But the Torah says, "Hatsnei lechet." You have to always walk modestly. People took it to the extreme. I'll tell you a story about the Lubavitcher Rebbe, that Rebbe Soloveitchik was in Berlin together with the Rebbe. A few other, Rebbe Huttner, a few others were there studying in college, and they ended up being some of the greatest rabbis here in America. And Rebbe Soloveitchik said that the Rebbe every day when he walked to college, I think when he got onto the train, and they were people in their 30s in those days, always walked with the newspaper. And I was curious. He knew the Rebbe. Okay, he's in college, but he was from a Hasidic family, walking with a newspaper in the street.
An American newspaper?
No, this is in Berlin.
Oh, Berlin.
Yeah.
But a regular newspaper.
Yeah. And then he discovered it was the same newspaper every single day. And inside of it was a Gemara. So the Rebbe wanted to carry Gemara with him to class, to wherever, and free time to learn. But I didn't want anyone knowing that he's carrying a Gemara. So he covered it with a newspaper. Today, especially in some communities, like people love to walk in the streets with a Gemara in their hand. It's not a bad thing. I wish everybody walked in the streets with a Gemara in their hand. But why are you doing it? If you're doing it because I love my learning and I want to take it to my office, I want to take it to the car, wherever I have free time, if that's your real reason and the only reason, do it. But if your reason is so that another person can see that I'm holding a Gemara in my hand. No, that is not a Jewish value. Hold because you're really sincere about it. That's the difference.
And the other thing is that I'm very happy to walk outside.
So what?
I'm very happy to walk outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like getting out of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Getting used.
Baruch Hashem. Okay, and one final thing about this is such a powerful passage. We could talk about this for forever. But the passage ends off that if someone says Yogati umatzasi, if I did work hard and I succeeded, then believe them. Yeah. But this, in general, the word we discussed the word for working hard. It's yugiya, which means very strenuous work, and then there's the word for success. So this is a strange word for success, matzati. Normally, well, for success you would say hitzlachti, right?
Found, right?
Matzati is found.
Is what?
Found. Matzati, I found something. So why is that the word for success? I worked hard and I found. So in English, we actually say, did you find, isn't there an expression? Or do we say, a person found success? Right? What does that mean to find success? Let's think about that term for a moment. And normally the word find can mean two things. Find could be that you were in the search of something and then you found it, okay? But that's not what the word mitzia, matzati means, at least in the Gemara. The Gemara talks about a mitzia. What's a mitzia? If you ever learned chapter 2, Baba Mitzia is not the word mitzia, it's different spelling. But elu mitzia. Mitzia is when you find something unexpectedly. You're walking down the street and I found a watch and I found a lost item. Do I have to return it? Or do I have to announce it? Or can I keep it? That's the discussion, right? So mitzia is not when you find something that you're looking for, but you find something even without looking for it. Yeah, just like, so why is that the word over here? And here I'm working hard towards something. So the success that I'll get is a success that I worked for, searched for, and achieved. So why the word matzati over here? It's a strange word.
Maybe because it's talking about the fact that you work hard, but whatever you found is not because of you, is God gave it to you.
So your success comes from your work or from God or God given? Is that what you need to work for?
I thought that you have to put in the effort and God will make it happen.
So it needs to be a bit of both.
Yeah.
God gives the success only if you work. And if you don't work, you won't get the success. I think that's one of the pshat. I agree with that. That's a beautiful pshat. And to add even more to this, typical success is commensurate with the work that I put in. Right? What kind of success will I have? Depending on the amount of, kind of, quality of work I put into something. Here Hashem is telling us, or the Gemara is telling us, if you work hard, you will achieve a success that is not commensurate, that it far transcends the amount of effort you put in. That's the gift from Hashem. You will first and foremost succeed based on the efforts you put in. That's your success. And then Hashem adds a success that's called matzati. What's the matzati? When I find something totally unexpected, meaning not something that I earned, worked for, was in pursuit of. It's a complete surprise out of nowhere. So this newfound success that God will give you will be on that level of a surprise, like I didn't work that much or to be able to succeed that much. That's the gift from Hashem. Train.
Where else is this written?
When he left the room, we said that the Rebbe made 12 psukim. All children have to, part of an educational curriculum, have to learn 12 psukim, extracts from Torah, from Talmud, etc., and which are foundational teachings of Judaism. This is one of them. Number 9. This is number 9. If you go to kids' rallies, always the child gets called up to say the 9th pasuk. Yagati veloi matzasi. Oh, Tommy, never heard it before. Which community do you belong to? Unbelievable.
Exactly. Precisely. The wrong community.
Okay, so now just to qualify this teaching, which some of us have already learned, so the Gemara says, Hani Mili, this teaching of Rabbi Yitzchak that says that only if you work hard and then you succeed, then believe them. This is all talking about in Divrei Torah. In Divrei Torah, you have to work hard and then you'll achieve. When it comes to business and earning a livelihood, it's all from Hashem. It's not even, your work is not even a factor. That's not to say, therefore, you don't have to work. You have to work as God commands you to work. And your work is making the keli, is making the vessel to receive the success from Hashem. But it's just preparing a keli down here. Versus the effort in Torah is actually required and part of the process of succeeding. And the success ultimately comes from Hashem. It's a bit of a fine difference there. And then the Gemara continues to qualify. And this hard work that's required in order to succeed even with regards to Torah, is talking about when you're trying to sharpen your knowledge of Torah. But just to preserve that which you have learned, also, that is a gift from Hashem. To work hard, to achieve in learning greater understanding, deeper understanding, broader knowledge, that's going to come through a lot of hard work. To achieve the gift of remembering and retaining, it's also a gift from Hashem. Okay. Oh, wow. Time just flew. Okay, so we're actually starting a whole new teaching that's going to go for the next, till the Mishnah on the next page, which we're not going to do now. Shine. Shkoch, everybody. Thank you. A gute Nacht.